Welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm meteorologist Stephen DiMartino, and this is our weekend forecast discussion. Well, if you have to pick a weekend to go out and do your outdoor activities, whether it's getting ready for Thanksgiving, traveling, or playing football, anything outdoors, this is the weekend to do it. Because after this weekend, well, conditions go downhill and go downhill fast. I'll explain why in just a moment. High pressure is going to remain in control throughout the entire northern mid-Atlantic this weekend and actually allow temperatures to moderate a bit into the 50s and possibly a few lower 60s, especially along the immediate coast. Overall, though, conditions will remain generally cool, especially in the interior. Watch out for those temperatures to really drop off at night, where temperatures will fall into the 20s and 30s because this air mass is so dry. The drier the air mass, the stronger the radiational cooling because you have clear skies and light winds. So again, if you're in northeastern Pennsylvania, northwestern New Jersey, parts of interior Connecticut or the Hudson Valley, sure, the afternoons will be relatively warm, temperatures in the mid-50s, but then at night, temperatures are going to plummet like a rock into the 20s and 30s. So just be prepared for that. Closer to the coast, not nearly as bad. Temperatures in the 40s for the most part for lows. Highs in the mid-50s to lower 60s, depending on your specific location. Overall, like I said, not a bad weekend. Perfect for going to football games, whatever you have outdoors. However, there's trouble brewing out to the west. Let's take a look at the water vapor. The water vapor satellite picture shows a few interesting features. First of all, we still have our strong ocean storm that's starting to weaken and collapse, but it's still blocking up this entire pattern. Note the reds and blacks are over the northern Atlantic down through the southeast and into the Gulf Coast. That's sinking air. And when you have sinking air, you get high pressure. That's why high pressure is going to remain controlled throughout this entire weekend. Because that upper level low is not moving very fast in the Atlantic, and we have a developing upper level trough over the northern plains. So in between that, you get a nice little ridge, although not nearly as warm as what some model guidance was suggesting earlier on the past few days. Still, at least we're going to remain dry and relatively comfortable. This storm that is developing out in the plains is basically the development and the beginning of a pattern changer. If you enjoyed the 50s, well, don't get used to it, unfortunately, because it's not going to last very long. This storm that is developing in the plains is going to continue to move northeast and north, and eventually the cold front associated with this disturbance in the plains will reach the northern mid-Atlantic Monday night to Tuesday with scattered showers, and then a stronger area low pressure develops in the southern plains and tracks towards the mid-Atlantic coast on Wednesday, producing periods of moderate to heavy rain. After that low pressure passes, well, it looks like we're going to be moving into a much colder regime with Arctic air, that's right, I said it, Arctic air, driving into the northern plains. Thereafter, it's going to reach the East Coast, probably around Thanksgiving. So definitely the conditions are going downhill from here on out after this weekend. So looking back at the surface map again, our area low pressure in the southern plains will continue to organize. This cold front will basically reach the East Coast by Monday night and then stall out to the south of New Jersey. The area low pressure develops around western Texas, pulls in some Gulf moisture from the western Gulf of Mexico, which by the way is running above normal in temperatures, and will streak towards the northern mid-Atlantic. The strength of this low is still debatable because we're not exactly sure how fast that Arctic air mass moves into the northern plains. The faster the Arctic air mass moves towards the east, the tighter the thermal gradient and therefore the stronger the storm. For now, though, I'm looking for a weak to moderate storm here with moderate to heavy rain at times. Most locations will see light to moderate rain through much of the day with like basically a burst of heavy rain every so often. Not expecting any large precipitation results out of this storm, but still Wednesday looks to be raw and wet. Thereafter, the Arctic air mass builds in towards the East Coast, and then we start our roller coaster ride down into winter. Now, I've been kind of hinting about the winter, and let me show you what I'm looking at. This is from Penn State EWAL, once again, a great website for all your model guidance needs. And what we have here is on the left, the European model guidance average from day 8 to 810, and the GFS ensemble model guidance also average from day 8 to 810 on the right. What we're seeing here is something rather remarkable for a transitioning pattern. and that is very strong agreement among all the model guys. Now, the models do not control the weather. The reason why all of this is starting to develop is because of several factors, including stratospheric anomalies, the influence of the east-based, that's right, you heard it here, east-based La Nina, and also developments with the MJO, which is Madden-Julian Oscillation. What basically is going on here is that we're getting a lot of high latitude blocking, which is not exactly normal for a La Nina pattern if you're expecting a west-based La Nina, which I am not. What we have here is something developing called a negative NAO, which is when you have a higher heights around Greenland, lower heights around 50 north, 50 west, and also a very strong and very impressive negative EPO to west-based positive EPO pattern. One could debate exactly what type of EPO pattern we're setting up here, but for the most part, we can all agree a very impressive ridge is developing over Alaska. The result of this ridge, combined with the ridge around Eurasia and the other ridge around Greenland, forces a lot of Arctic air down into the lower 48 of the United States. And as a result, you get not only a blocking pattern, you get a very cold pattern for much of the United States going in towards Thanksgiving and into early December, but you also get one that could be potentially stormy. So we're going to have to keep an eye to see exactly how this pattern develops. But when I see all the model guides starting to point to one direction, and all of the physical properties of the atmosphere, the actual observations pointing to the same developments, well, looks like winter's going to start early and in a big way. So it looks like winter is on the way in a big way. So I invite you to check out becoming a premium member with NYNJPA Weather, where we discuss all of this and of course have live interactive coverage in our worst winter storms, something that you might want to be interested in. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you for watching NYNJPA Weather. I'm meteorologist Stephen DiMartino. Have a great day.